Hello and welcome, I'm Carl the Landscape Guy. I'm glad you're here because today I want to show you how I build a new terrace. To do this, the existing terrace is removed, topsoil is excavated and bedding material is installed. A new border is set and large format stones are laid at the correct height. This video is not sponsored in any way and I bought and paid for all the materials and tools shown myself. The majority of the work is done by hand, also because there is no access with large equipment. The procedure in this video is therefore easily applicable to do-it-yourself projects. It doesn't matter whether you want to renew an existing terrace or create a completely new terrace. We will carry out this project as a pair and will need about 5 days in total for the terrace. The aging terrace of this small terraced house garden consists of simple concrete paving stones with a border of lawn curbs and paths made of concrete paving slabs. The customer wants a larger seating area with a higher quality look, therefore the old terrace must now be removed. So we start by removing the old edging. I dig along it once and then the lawn curb can be removed, including the concrete. We have parked our trailer directly at the garden entrance so that the concrete rubble can be picked up manually. This means we have very short distances, otherwise a wheelbarrow would of course be the right choice for transporting it. We have something special planned for the topsoil, so prepare to be surprised. We pick up the 20 square meters of paving stones using a pitchfork and bucket. This seems a bit ineffective at first, but after just an hour all the stones have been loaded up and taken away. The red paving slabs are also disposed of at the same time. And so the entire paving surface has now been removed. Here simple filling sand was used. This can be done, but it does not comply with DIN. Filling sand with zero content, i.e. fine sand, has no capillary breaking properties. Sand should only be used, if at all, for concrete paving stones and then compacted very well. Unlike gravel, sand does not have coarsely broken parts, which ensure better interlocking, load distribution and compactability. If this were a traffic carrying area such as a driveway, I would replace the sand with a 0/32mm gravel base layer. This would of course involve additional costs. Since this is not a traffic carrying area, we will reuse the sand. The new terrace should be a little larger. So we will remove the topsoil to a depth of about 30 centimeters until the planned terrace reaches the desired width. But be careful, because a new border will be installed here, which should be at least 20 centimeters within the new area. Once we have removed all areas, we distribute the existing sand into the excavated areas. It is now important to compact the stones in layers using the vibrating plate. The materials are delivered on time. The new concrete paving comes in black and measures 22 by 33 centimeters. We take some stones from the pallet and lay them out in a straight row. Now I measure the width of 9 whole stones. It is 198 centimeters. This means that one stone is exactly 22 centimeters wide with a joint. We make the terrace so wide that only whole rows fit in. In this case, 19 rows times 22 centimeters of stone width is 418 centimeters. I add a 1 centimeter buffer to this, so 419 centimeters in width. At this distance from the house wall, we place the first mason's line parallel to the house wall. This second line marks the beginning of the planned terrace and runs orthogonally to the house wall. Such a line can be easily aligned with the building angle, for example. Now we calculate the exact length of the new terrace. Here, 6 stones make 198 centimeters, so one stone is 33.1 centimeters long with a joint. The customer wants a terrace about 5 meters long. With 15 whole stones in length, we get a length of 496.5 centimeters. Here we add another centimeter buffer and get 497.5 centimeters. We mark this on the house wall, and this is where the third line goes. For the second string nail, we measure the length again. I put the string around the nail once and pull it tight while I measure. This makes it easy to determine the position for the string nail. The string nails must be hammered in outside the area, otherwise they will get in the way when the curbs are being placed. Always check again after fitting. The diagonal measurements must be the same length, then all angles are right-angled. Now the cords have to be brought to the right heights. To do this, I mark the target height of the planned terrace on the house wall in the area of the patio door. The slope will run away from the house. The terrace is therefore at the same height along the house wall. We transfer the heights using a rotary laser. You can also work here with a straight edge and a spirit level. I bought this laser some time ago and am very happy with it. It works very reliably and has a long battery life. Please order what you need for your paving work via the affiliate links in the video description to support this video. Thank you very much. This height is also marked on the string nail opposite. The slope should be 2%. So 2 centimeters of slope per meter of terrace width. At around 4 meters wide, the total slope is 8 centimeters. So add a second line 8 centimeters lower. The cord is now attached here. We do this on both sides. The cord in between is adjusted to the height of the slope cords. Next, the edging can be put in place. To do this, a trench the width of a spade is dug under the string. The curb will be here later. So I also dig the trench from this side with the spade. A narrow shovel works too, but the wider the trench, the more concrete is used. We dig the trench about 30 centimeters deep under the string.
28.
We set the concrete curbs in concrete screed. This is pre-mixed, can be quickly mixed with water and is very strong. In total, we are only laying about 16 meters of curbs here, so ready-made screed in bags is a good option. You need about 1.5 bags of ready-made screed per meter of curb. I put a few shovels of earth-moist screed concrete into the trench. I cut a board to be 2 centimeters shorter than the curb height of 25 centimeters. I use this to spread the concrete while the board rests against the string at the top. Now the curb is placed on the uncompacted concrete with the bevel facing outwards and aligned. I can now use the rubber hammer to bring the curb to the right height. It is only in the right place when the stone is just barely no longer touching the string. Then the trench can be filled with concrete on both sides to about half its height. I carefully compact the concrete on both sides using a roof batten. Some people skip the concrete on the inside. I like to put concrete on both sides so that the curb cannot swing out of place. These 8 centimeter thick and 1 meter long concrete curbs are not as easy to move as, for example, the 50 centimeter short lawn curbs. However, they are much more stable, have fewer joints and look more solid, especially when the paving stones are so large. In addition, you can usually make faster progress with larger stones. If the stone is not exactly parallel to the string, you can easily adjust it by 1 or 2 millimeters using the roof batten. When it comes to the joints, I make sure that there is no concrete or sand in between. I always start hitting in the middle of the stone so that the concrete underneath settles evenly. If you start at the end, the curb starts to wobble. This reduces the strength and there is a risk that the curbs will chip at the joint. When we reach the other end, we leave a section free because the path to the shed is to be directly connected here. I leave 88 centimeters free so that 4 rows of paving stones can continue seamlessly later. Cutting the curbs is easy with a large angle grinder and a bit of practice. If there are foundations or pipes in the ground, you can cut the curb out like this. You won't be able to see them later. The slope to the shed initially drops and then rises slightly again towards the shed door. This way, no surface water will run into the shed later. The last curb now needs to be fitted precisely, and then the access to the shed is finished.
Weil du hast sonst das Problem. Nee, dass die abplatzen, die Ecken.
Roughly smoothing the outer back support provides additional strength. I now let the new edging harden for at least 2 days before continuing construction. Direct sunlight on the concrete should be avoided so that the concrete can set undisturbed. You can cover it directly with soil or fleece. Light rain or manual watering helps the setting process. I use 0/8 mm gravel as the bedding material here. A bedding without zero content is often used here, e.g. 2/5 mm fine chippings. Chippings do not work here, however, because they would press into the sand. In my experience, the sand base layer shown has sufficient load-bearing capacity for walkways in private property areas when properly compacted. For new terraces, I would always recommend a base layer of 0/32 mm gravel. That is at least 20 centimeters thick, and a 3 centimeter thick paving bed of 2/5 mm chippings. We now distribute the fine gravel to the correct height and compact it layer by layer. The height can be easily checked using a string. The paving stones are 6 centimeters thick. We want 5 centimeters under the string so that the stones are initially 1 centimeter higher than the edging. We use simple U-profiles made of steel as screeding rails. A rail in the middle of the area is needed as a support for the straight edge. For the thin rail, I only need to draw a small groove in the bed. The rail is then aligned using the strings and well filled and pressed all around. This way it does not shift when screeding. We will screed using a 3 meter straight edge. To do this, we attach a short piece of board to one side, offset by 5 centimeters. Now we begin to remove the bedding to the correct height. Since we measured precisely beforehand, not much material needs to be removed. With a little practice, the 3-meter aluminum straight edge can be moved quickly and easily by 2 people. The edges of the straight edge are sharp enough to peel off the pre-compacted bedding material. To do this, however, the aluminum board must be held vertically at all times and must not tip over when pulled. Some people also use a straight wooden board, but this makes it more difficult to remove it. The bedding material sticks easily to the rough wood. If you use chippings with no zero content as a bedding, it will of course be easier to remove. This is not compacted before removal. However, natural stone chippings are not equally available everywhere in the region and are very expensive. I strongly advise against using a loose gravel material as a bedding. Gravel has round grains and therefore offers little interlocking and little pressure stability. You can imagine it similar to a ball pit. Therefore, many people resort to a cheap bedding material, as shown here. In my experience, if you proceed carefully and compact well, it works very well and the surface is very stable later. We are making good progress and are always removing the excess material with the shovel so that it is not in the way. If there is any material missing somewhere, we make improvements straight away. On the second half, we simply turn our aluminum board over and can carry on straight away. Once both sides have been removed, the U-profile can be easily removed. By turning and tapping lightly, the gap fills up and can be easily closed with a small spirit level. I cut a board to size so that I can remove the small paths quickly and easily. This also ensures that the paving stones are evenly higher than the curb later on. This short path represents the access from the lower existing paving under the carport. I use the aluminum rail to connect the two heights. I then use this gradient to continue removing the board. This way I don't need to install a rail. Then the surface is completely leveled and looks good. Next, a filter fleece with 100 grams per square meter is used. The fleece is not expensive and has several advantages. It works against ants, which like to carry out the fine parts of the bedding. It can also inhibit weeds and increase the stability of the paving. The fleece is rolled out, aligned, weighted and cut to size. Now we can start laying the large paving stones. This is now progressing well. The stones are laid in rows offset by a third. The third and two-thirds stones required for this were supplied and therefore do not need to be cut. We also use these spacers, which widen the joint by about 0.5 millimeter. This distributes the previously calculated tolerance of 1 centimeter evenly over the entire row. The manufacturers of concrete paving generally recommend not laying the stones too close together. A slightly larger joint also ensures better filling with joint material and thus greater stability of the paving surface. We are getting a very good flush finish at the corner here, up to 4 millimeters. This means that we measured carefully and worked cleanly when edging. The 4 millimeters can be distributed easily across the rows. To do this, I place the aluminum rail on the row that is in the right position and fix it to prevent it from slipping. The stones can be easily moved on the smooth fleece using the spade. Because of the large paving stones, the area has very few joints. We are therefore working with spacers here again because the joint pattern does not forgive inaccurate work. The last 4 rows fit in very well and can merge into the path as planned. Here under the fence, it is more or less a coincidence that we do not have to cut the stones. So far we have not had to cut a single stone. This ensures a solid, professional and harmonious overall appearance. Four stones have to be cut at the shed door. This can be easily marked with oil chalk.
Quatsch. Das ist Quatsch.
The cuts are quickly made with the 230mm diamond cutting disc.
Ja, sorry.
The area is now laid and should now be swept straight away. The paving manufacturer has supplied suitable joint material for this. Not only the amount but also the grain size and color of the joint chippings are perfectly matched to the paving stone. I advise against filling the joint with material that is too fine because it promotes weed growth, is popular with ants and prevents good drainage. Of course, a fixed joint can be installed, but in this case the paving manufacturer should be consulted as soon as possible to see whether the paving is suitable for this. Sweeping before vibrating is very important so that the stones do not shift. This ensures that the joints remain clean and the stones are not damaged by clattering against each other. The material can be swept in very well when dry, also because we left the joints large enough for this. Now comes an important step. The surface must be cleaned immaculately of grit. A blower can be used for this as well as a broom. According to the manufacturer, this paving, called Kaiserstein, has a special coating. Therefore, a rubber mat for the compactor must be used in any case so as not to scratch the surface. I only give it half throttle to start with and see how the surface behaves. For the first lap, I drive along on the curb so that the pavers cannot be pushed down deeper than the curb. The vibration ensures that all stones are pressed evenly into the bed and the surface is very even. The vibration can cause joint material to fly out of the joint. That's why we always ensure that the area directly in front of the compactor is clean. After one pass, the area is smooth and no stone protrudes. Otherwise, the process can be repeated. Because we had compacted our paving bed well, the stones did not give much. That's how it should be. The jointing material sagged due to the vibration and compacted in the joint. That's very good because it means the stones lie nice and firmly together. However, the joint now needs to be filled again. By sweeping diagonally to the joints, the grit is not swept out again. After that, the surface is finished. Very happy with the result, but the design around the paving area is still missing. Plants, a weed fabric, and a cover made of coarse sandstone chippings or bark mulch complete the overall picture. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you can take something away from this video. If so, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more garden building videos. In the following, you can see what we built from the pile of dirt. There is also a detailed video on my channel, so feel free to check it out. Thank you for paving with us today. Until next time, your Carl the Landscape Guy.